Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Martin from Passion of the Nerd.
I am Zachary, Patton, Garcia.
And I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and we have our first guest today for our Angel coverage. She is a writer for comicbook.com and co-host of the podcast Phase Zero.
Hello, it's Jamie Jirak. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Jamie. So we're here to talk, Ian, you know how to correctly say this word, and I do not.
Somnambulist.
Right.
This is some bullshit right here. Ian already knows that I don't do a big word like this, and you invite me on for the one with the big word.
Well, the good thing is that big word, barely comes into it at all.
Do we know what that is? What does it mean?
There's actually an interesting little bit of, just an interesting note about the title of the episode. So the definition of somnambulist, a person who walks around, eats, or performs other motor acts while asleep, sleepwalker. And the original title of the episode was The Killer I Created. But, and this is just according to the Wikipedia article, a summary of the episode leaked, so Tim Minear changed the name of the episode as a mislead for fans.
Which is so weird, that this would, I don't know, who cares, right? You need a mislead for a throwaway episode.
I don't know. I feel like it was Ian Carlos Crawford that leaked it.
Well, so wait, the crazy thing is, and I can't even remember what it was. I've been trying to catch up on so much TV lately. I can't remember if it was the show Evil or Paper Girls. One of them used this fucking word in a recent episode, and I was like, wait a minute, what? I've literally never heard until Ian said it out loud. What? You said it out loud in one of our recordings earlier this season, and I was like, that's how you say that word. And then one of those shows, a character makes fun of someone because they're like, oh, they think they have somnambulism, and I was like, aha, that's the word. So yeah, Jamie, do you want to tell us how you got into Angel?
Oh my God, I would love to.
I know you have some big Angel opinions.
I do. I think when I was talking about Buffy, it was kind of the same thing. I got into Buffy in the 6th grade, and then I just, when the 6th season started, I know I'm the younger one, and then when that was it. I just consumed every bit of content that I could, and that included Angel. But I very much, when I look back on that time, what I remember most is the 8th grade is when the 5th season aired. And while Buffy overall, I prefer, the 5th season of Angel is my favorite season of television of all time. I love it so much. And I remember, I think it would air Wednesdays. And every Thursday in the 8th grade, I would have a little powwow with my science teacher, and we would talk about the episode before. And I'll never forget when the 100th episode aired, I cried myself to sleep, and I came back into school the next day, and my teacher was like, "Are you okay, Jamie? I've been really worried about you." Yeah, I'm pretty upset. But
that's
that was
so cute.
Yeah. So that's always it's all about the 5th season for me, because that's what I really remember watching in real time. I mean, I have a giant Illyria tattoo, so that's definitely the beginning of a long history.
The 100th episode, was that a hole in the world?
No,
You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay.
Yes. Because I actually do agree with you. I know some people don't love the 5th season as much, but I of course miss Cordelia. It would have been made better by Cordelia's appearance in it, but it's so good. I think it's so good. I love that you love it so much that you have an Illyria tattoo, because Jamie has showed me pictures and it is a fucking good tattoo.
I really want to see this tattoo now.
I will share it. One day the other side of my leg is going to have dark willow to balance her out, but it hurts so bad. I have a lot of tattoos, and it's the one that hurt the most, so I'm I keep putting it off.
That's so funny. I would think that you would be kind of immune to that shit by now, because you have so many.
Nope. I am not. I'm a weak person. It's shocking that I have as many as I do, because they hurt really bad.
My tattoo artist, last time I went to him, he was like, "It's okay. I know you're going to be a big baby." And then was like, "Oh, I forgot that you're always surprisingly not as much of a baby as I think you'll be." Yeah, so this episode stars, who does it star, Jamie?
Oh, the one, the only, Jeremy Renner.
Oh my God. So weird.
It was fucking weird, man. This was a fever dream. And I'm blind. I have not had contacts in a good bit, so I had to get real up close to the TV, and I was like, is that Jeremy freaking Renner?
It's such weird casting, and why make him do that accent in the flashback? Also in his wig, he looks like in the thumbnail on the Wikipedia article for this episode, I was like, wait, is that Spike? Like in thumbnail version, in that wig in the badly shot dark alley, it just looked like Spike. And I was like, oh, I forgot he was in this episode. He is not. How do we feel about this episode, like overall? Jamie, I'm curious if you like love it, or you think it's bad, love it, or what?
I'm kind of in the middle. I love it because I just think it's so silly. I think watching, I have mixed feelings about Renner. I do like Renner for the most part as like an actor, as a person. I don't know, but but this is like my first memory of him, but now going back, like with being like a big Marvel and Mission Impossible fan, it's just silly to watch him be this character because he doesn't usually play that kind of character. I do really like the Kate arc of this. That she finally like learns everything. So that aspect I really like about it. And it's early Wesley. So all the Wesley stuff just makes me laugh. So overall, I do really enjoy this episode, even if it is a little goofy.
And Zach, what'd you think of it? Was this your first time watching this one, Zach?
This was my first time watching this one.
Oh, shit.
He doesn't come back in it, right? This is a one-off for him. Okay. I don't like that. I don't like how, because I think the last episode I was on for Doyle's death, they brought something, the big bad for that episode was just in that one episode. And I really didn't like that. And I don't like that we have somebody who's supposed to be significant enough for Angel that he's going to like, I don't know. His reactions spelt out that it was, significant enough for him. But we don't see this guy again. So I'm a hard selling, bringing somebody in just to kill him off. It'd have been maybe a little bit better if they led into a couple more episodes. But overall, I didn't hate it, actually. I liked it pretty well.
Yeah. Ian?
Yeah, Angel does that a couple of times. Now, Jeremy Renner is one of them. There's a vampire couple later in the series that comes back for just one episode. It seems like, why have we never heard of this couple before? But I love this episode. I think it's one of the most successful. The first season and a half about is kind of the noir experiment where they were trying to do the case of the week, detective 1940s feeling mixed with vampire fantasy. And I think this is one of the more successful ones. And I also think eliminating 5x5, you have to grade season 1 on a curve. Yeah. And based on that, this is one of the best episodes of season 1, I think.
Ian, that's what I struggle with too, right? Because it's like, oh, season 1 like is rough, but then the Faith episodes are very good. And it's like, well, we know that it can be good. Cornelia's episode, The Room with a View, that episode's good. But
the thing is, with those episodes borrow heavily from Buffy.
Yeah.
Even Cordy-centric episodes, Cordy is established and grown and solid from Buffy.
Right.
But in terms of, and certainly the Faith episodes borrow from Buffy, but in terms of the show finding its own identity and figuring out who Angel is and all of that, this one stands above and doesn't have that. Crutch is the wrong word because borrowing from Buffy is a wonderful thing, but doesn't have that thing going on. So even with the noir becomes camp here and there, especially with wigs and accents. But
what do you mean? The wigs are great.
I really love this episode.
I feel like I don't look upon this episode fondly. I don't like Kate that much. Like she's written so unbalanced. Like the way she starts this episode, I'm like, oh no, I like this version of their relationship where it's like a little bit flirty, but nothing intense, and they just can be cool and like work together. But like when they get the like hyper aggressive antagonistic attitude towards each other, I fucking hate it. And that's what she has most of the time, but it goes back and forth, right? And that for me like drives me nuts because I'm like, I just want her to pick one and feel that way about Angel. And I also, the Kate episodes tend to fall into like Law and Order and vampires, and I really hate Law and Order. But to what Zach said, I also fucking hate, because Buffy did this like once or twice, but Angel does it a lot, where there's like, this thing is very important for this episode and we will never talk about it again. And that is like my least favorite, especially in these shows where it is serialized. So I'm like, don't tell me this is important. And I know that like I read on the Angel Wiki that in the comics, Spike has a few dreams like this, but like the fact that we've never seen a vampire do this, and we don't really get an explanation why only just now is Angel dreaming about him, because she even says, oh, he's been in LA a lot later on when they're like investigating. I don't love that.
You're
right?
talking about the psychic connection between the two of them when in proximity.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spike didn't know Angel was in Sunnydale. There's never any indication of any of that going on.
Yeah, so like that bothers me. But again, with what Zach said, I actually like surprisingly was like, oh, maybe I do like this episode more than I remember. It is hard to separate Jeremy Renner though, right? I feel like we can all agree, like seeing him in this, it's like, oh, this is silly.
He doesn't belong here. It's just not him.
This is his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth credit on Angel, ninth credit on IMDb, and the rest of the other 8 are bit parts and little appearances. He was, beating the street and grinding at this point, trying to make something of it.
He was yet to be
his chin strap too. That chin strap was there.
God. So yeah, and we don't even really see him till about the halfway mark, right? I think
it's 15 minutes because I clocked it. He comes in at the 15-minute mark.
So we open on this dream, and I do appreciate them when they like try to do a different angle, and I like that. We see the girl get murdered, and then we see Angel's face turning unvamp, and then sits up and is in his bed. I kind of like the darkness, the way they play with that. Then we just like quickly go to Kate, and it's like her talking about a murderer on the loose. We do get a couple of really good Cordelia moments in this episode, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The thing I like about her and Wesley's dynamic, especially early on, is that, and I will say this, going through season 1 for the podcast, I've appreciated Doyle way more than I did just casually watching, but the show feels like it more knows what it is once Wesley's there, which I don't understand why, but right, yeah. And I like this version of Cordelia and Wesley because Cordelia had been played earlier, like she would be the one they're like shrugging off. But now Wesley becomes the one where it's like, oh, you're kind of a dummy and we're shrugging you off. And I like that Cordelia gets that dynamic instead of it being Cordelia the one that they're like, oh, Cordelia.
What did I just have a question. What did everybody think of Wesley when you started watching Angel and he came into it? Because I'm still like, let's say I'm like fresh off season 3 of Buffy, right? I don't like Wesley. And so he's not he's 2 episodes in for me right now. I'm not a big fan.
It's so hard to look back because Wesley is my favorite television arc of all time. So, like, I don't even remember, like, because now it's like, Wesley's here. But I would imagine back then I was like, I don't know, this is an interesting choice, but it was so long ago. Now I'm like, pump Wesley into my veins.
Yeah, Ian, because I feel the same way. It's like hard for me to like separate, but yeah, Ian, what did you feel?
His sort of first of all, Alexis is wonderful. Alexis is very funny and he's wonderful at the humor, but it's just not my brand of humor. The pratfall slapstick Wesley from these early seasons, and I highly disliked him at this point. But I thought he was due for some character development, which he gets a good one in 3 episodes in I've Got You Under My Skin.
Yeah.
And then certainly 5 by 5. But his arc overall is one of my top 3 in the show. And that says a lot because I hated his starting place. I thought he was created to create conflict on Buffy season 3. And he did that, but not a lot other than that. For me, again, because I didn't find him that funny.
Right. Yeah. Because I do love his growth, I get like annoyed with the falling and the constant pontificating. I'm like, all right, Grandpa, like, come on. Like, that does annoy me in these episodes. And I'm like, get to the good Wesley. But you're right. In I've Got You Under My Skin is when we start to get a lot more from him and they give him more depth. And I think they realize like, he can do more than just like silly, stupid things of like falling over and being bad or like being bad at his job. Cause like he also was a watcher, right? So he should be just, I want him to be like slightly more competent cause he wasn't like even the watchers that are bad, like Quentin Travers and like that gang, like they still like knew their shit, right?
Yeah. They're competent.
Yeah.
And he, the headcanon that I kind of came about with for as I watched the show was you have to kind of explain why Giles gets so mistreated by the Watchers Council. And I think that, as a patriarchal symbol and all of that, though it's actually looked at as a lesser spot to be the Slayer's Watcher, because Giles doesn't get invited to the Watcher's retreat. Giles doesn't get all the memos. They don't communicate with him. They mistreat him. But he is the Slayer's Watcher. And to me, that's an extension of the way they look at the Slayer as subhuman and their tool, and not worthy of. She's not a member of the Watchers Council. She's a tool of theirs, as he says in Checkpoint. So that kind of explains why incompetent Wesley is sent to Sunnydale and assigned to her. Was the headcanon that I kind of came up with working through it, because you kind of have to figure out why Giles gets so mistreated by the council.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that's always like kind of driven me crazy. Like, how is, like, there's only one Slayer. How is Giles not like getting invited to everything? He should be like a really important figure to these people. And that's always bothered me. And I like that theory or that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, going all the way to where the Slayer power emerged from, somewhere in Africa, in whatever you think of that episode. The whole idea then is like British colonialism stole all this power around the world. And most likely they stole more tools than just taking control of the Slayer.
Yeah.
So in my mind, the Watchers Council probably has we know from season 7 with Giles rehabilitating Willow that they have the Council of Witches. They have many different tools under their disposal, of which the Slayer is one of them.
I like that headcanon, and I accept that headcanon. Yeah, so we get Cordelia and Wesley, and I do think, and I've said this before, now I think that, like, James Marsters and Charisma Carpenter are both, like, they can have chemistry with everyone, like anyone and everyone, because even in these scenes, her chemistry with Wesley, of course, it's not, like, romantic, but the, like, chemistry of, like, you're kind of annoying, but you're my friend, that Cordelia has with him. I actually I do enjoy that, of her being like, I'll be nice to you. You're a little annoying, but, like, I don't know. I like that chemistry. And I think it's because Cordelia doesn't often get to have that dynamic with someone. Like, normally she's the one that's like, they think she's kind of annoying, but they like her anyway. Right. And I like seeing her get to do that. So he enters, we learn that he has accidentally stolen the office next to them, which is the dentist's office, mail. I like that she says nobody likes a smart-ass rogue demon hunter, almost like mocking him. Cordelia, like, tells him to go bring the mail back, and he kind of notices something, but doesn't tell her. She just asks if something's wrong because he stopped yammering. He leaves. Angel comes in. I feel like they do this a lot where it's like, oh, Angel, you look extra tired. And it's like, no, he doesn't. He looks the same as he always looks. Like, she keeps saying how tired he looks, but he is kind of out of it. And I guess one would assume that he's dreamed about all of the murders, right?
Probably.
I would think so, but he always looks out of it. Like, I'm having a hard time differentiating here, because he pretty much enters every episode the same way, where Cordelia's at the desk, he comes walking in, and she says something about, like, coffee or him looking sleepy or something, right? Every episode that I've been on, this is kind of how Angel enters anyway.
Then what? I forget. It's like they discuss the murders, right? So I realize I missed a part in my notes here. I'm like, then he goes to see Kate. But it's like, does he talk about the murders, or Ian, which is it?
He has a bit of information he needs to take to Kate, and happens to see the murder board that Kate has, and realizes that it's more than a dream. Dun, dun, dun.
Right. Yes. And again, this dynamic, like, I like her being like, I forget what she's like, oh, they have nothing in common. He's like, well, they have you on the case. And she, like, gives him a half smile. And I kept, not to talk about season 5 again, but to talk about season 5, I wouldn't have minded her as, like, a Nina type romantic partner, where it's not anything too serious. They are casual. They are cool. Like, right. I think she would have worked well like that.
That had to have been the point of her in the beginning, right?
Right.
I feel like they had to have been leading up to that until she left, because she got Law and Order, right? Isn't that why she left?
I think it was like,
Is she actually on Law and Order?
She was, yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness! It feels perfect acting for that.
Yeah.
She's
Right?
done a fantastic job.
Wasn't that like a thing that a lot of the Angel side characters, because wasn't the woman who plays Lila also on Law and Order? Like I feel like a couple of them.
I don't know, but she definitely looks like somebody who would be on Law and Order too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny how Tim Minear episodes have a lot of through lines. Sense and Sensitivity is also a Tim Minear episode. I think that was he co-wrote Hero, and but I think the first episode he wrote was that one, and that one has the moment where Angel leans over behind Kate to look at the screen, and the camera deliberately shows Kate noticing his proximity, and it's the first kind of visual giveaway of something going on between the two of them, and then there is a little bit of that here before that completely falls off the table.
Yeah, right? Like, that's what I'm curious about, because I do agree with you, Jamie. I feel like they were building towards that, but I wonder, like, because the same way that, like, if you read the wiki for this, they had written this episode with Doyle in it, right? And they had to rewrite it. So I wonder, like, how much of that was, like, because by the end of the season, they hate each other. By the end of season 1, Angel and Kate very much are at odds. And then in season 2, there's a few episodes before she leaves, but like we never really, like what the episode where she leaves, we heal it, but that's about it. So I wonder if, I don't know, halfway through season 1, they were like, never mind, or what? Because
Cordy makes a comment in this episode where she's like, he cares about her more than he knows. I'm like, I feel like Cordy's like seeing it unfold because she knows these things.
Well, and the good thing about Cordy, that why we love her, is that like people can like shrug her off, but she's actually like pretty observant with that shit.
I think that Kate was a character that contributed something to the original episodic idea of the show, where they were just going to do Case of the Week and it wasn't going to be heavily serialized and all of that. Having a police connection opens up possibilities in the script writing process. So she's kind of a valuable character in that context. And once the end of season 1, they start to swing away back into arc episodes. And it seems like within the arc serialized format, they didn't know what to do with her. Where if you have everyone in the core, everyone who is at the Hyperion or in the office gets regular episode by episode development and character beats and scenes with each other, like Wesley, the chemistry between Wesley and Cordy. But Kate was never going to be in that office. She was never going to be there, and so you have to invent reasons every episode for them to go and visit her in order for that to happen. Or what happens is her dad died, she becomes anti-Angel and disappears except for occasional episodes of just showing up and looking. I mean, the writing for her really struggles after they get super arcy. Yeah.
Because I barely remember her in season 2, aside from her last episode, but I know she is in a handful of season 2 episodes. But so we learn that the killer is cutting victims on the cheek and carving a little cross into them before draining their blood. She basically like briefs all the cops after Angel leaves. They're gonna. Yes, Zachary.
Is she just? They just gave her the Angel character description on the script page, right? And she just like read that is what it was. Because how did she come up with all of that when she was on the wrong path anyway? Angel had to correct her. Angel had to tell her, no, he's mocking God. He's not. He's not religious. And now all of a sudden she's got Angel's character description to a T.
It's like when she's like, he probably just came off of a big breakup, but it was his first relationship in a long time.
I'm surprised she didn't go into like her name was probably something along the lines of Bunny or
maybe with an F. I don't know.
It was way too close. Way too close.
And so I actually really love this scene. So Wesley comes in to see Cordelia, and he's got the like clipping of the newspaper, and Cordelia's very like, oh, you cut up the dentist newspaper, we're gonna check out of this building. And I love that he's like, we have to accept that this could be Angel. And I kind of love Charisma's delivery here when she's just like, okay, you have to leave now because he's my friend, and like, do not say that he is doing this. I don't care. I love that. I don't care what he did in his powdered wig days.
So great. Like, that's the friend you want to have, right? And then the immediate switch.
Yes.
Like, she took no time when he admitted it.
You stake him, I'll cut his head off.
She's just good. Like, even this isn't even a Cordy episode, and she still she steals it.
Yeah.
They're pretty regular about showing that one of Angel's prerequisites for his friends is they have to be willing to kill him.
Right.
I think there's a beat with Wesley in Sanctuary where that comes up again, and Eternity specifically, where he expresses that if you're going to be friends with me, you have to be willing to kill me. And that's why I love that pivot in that scene so quickly. Cordy circles the wagons. She's loyal. Unless she thinks Angel's turned and then is ready to drop him.
And she's experienced it too. So like she knows she's ready. She's like, I went through this. I have notes. Where's the sword? Where's the statue? How do we get him into the portal?
and that's the shit I love with Cordelia, right? Because like, okay, we can portray her as like, okay, she's like flighty and like, you know, has trouble with tact. But like, she's fucking smart with this shit. And I love the ride or die of like, get out. How dare you? Oh, he did. Well, let's kill him. Like, it's so good.
It's like at the very end of the episode, she's a similar thing. Like, there's always, I mean, like, you know, back when he was Angelus, you know, she was so afraid she had to get her car magicked away from him.
Yeah.
Like, I do like that because like someone like Buffy has trouble with that.
Right.
Like she would do what she has to, but it's not something she even wants to think about. Whereas I think Cort's always on Cordy's mind.
Yeah. Unless it's fucking Anya, then she's like, yeah, sure, kill her. Still get mad about that. But yeah, no. And that also is showing the difference between Cordelia and Buffy, right? Because Cordelia she just, you know, gave her little, like, don't you dare insinuate Angel, but then has the turnaround of, yep, kill him. That's smart. So we get that Angel is like, it really might be me, like Angel. And I kind of love the like, Wesley's like, get back. And he's like, how do we know it's you? And he's like, because this is how fast I can disarm you. And like, just like grabs his arm and throws him away. I kept waiting for them to say the word somnambulist, but they just say that Angel might be sleepwalking. I'm like, say the word, say the thing. Because also I feel like Zach, you and I have talked about this. There's so many words I learned from Buffy. Like, I always think of corporeal as like, I only ever heard that word on Buffy. Because they would be like, oh, the first is non-corporeal. And I remember thinking that was a word they made up for the show at the time. So then they decide to tie him to the bed, right?
They chained him up.
So yeah, they do that. And then I do like that Cordelia's like, I'm going to leave. Because she is smart. We get the like flashback. This is the flashback scene, right, Ian?
Yeah. It's a flashback, but they cut right before they show Hawkpie or Jeremy Renner or whatever his name is.
Yeah. So to Zach's point earlier, and it just bothers me that like we're supposed to believe that this is like a guy that was like, you know, he did run with him for a while, and like we only ever hear or see of him once. I don't know. Or like,
I mean, he even says by the end, right? He says like, "You are your daddy to me." So it's weird that like this is just a single. It must be because Angel's done this quite a few times, and there's a bunch of like little angel children running around. But the flashbacks, man, come on. It's just hello wig, you know. I don't even know what would the wig's name be, like Sherry or something like that. It's bad. The accents are awful, and I don't know why they would force the actors to do these. They can't. These actors cannot add this to their reel. They cannot.
Right. I did this wonderful accent in an episode of Angel. I always remember when Anthony Oliveira and I interviewed Kali Rocha, who played Halfrek, and her saying how crispy those wigs were. That's what I always say. She's like, oh, poor James Marsters had to wear that crispy wig on his head. Oof. And like, I just always think like, wonder how crispy that was. But yeah, so we learned that it's his sister that they're killing, right? Isn't that what he says? Jeremy. Yeah. They like realize that like a murder did happen because Angel's dramatic and is like, no, I did make it happen. But he means
He's being dramatic.
Right.
Being dramatic. And then we cut to Jeremy Renner. So Jeremy Renner's styling changes a couple times throughout this episode, that when he's just in his apartment and like pinning things to the wall, he doesn't look like the vampire that's out there that, like, you know, we see later on in the episode. So I got confused.
Yeah, I was trying to sort through that a little bit too this time. I think that I got his character in a way that I didn't before.
Okay.
The episode, one of the things that I love this episode, but one of the things that put me off about it is he's just not that intimidating. He's Angel's a drama queen, and that's part of his character, and it's really fun. You got peanut butter on the bed. Jeremy Renner's character is a campy drama queen, and there's a big distinction there. Is like he's incredibly performative, and you see him in his with the room alone doing his own murder board or whatever Angel called it in the whole thing. Yeah, and he looks like a 90s frat D-bag in that particular shot. And then when he goes to see Angel, he's wearing his black velvety outfit with the red whatever it is. It's his performative nature. It's his constantly needing to show off and elevate himself and look better. He a bold reinterpreter of the form. I think that's a tough line to say, and I think Jeremy Renner, I think Jeremy Renner is great. I enjoy the performances of what I've seen him in, but clearly those are words he hasn't said out loud very often, and yet I think that fits pretty well for the character who is doing this kind of dramatic performative act, as opposed to Angel was that, he is faking it and wants to show Daddy that, that he really can be just like him, I think is the idea that they were going for there. So kind of grokking to that this time, I enjoyed what felt like negatives in the performance before, kind of now feel like they fit within his character.
Yeah, I mean, it's the glasses for me. It's not even performance. It's the glasses that appear in one scene only.
That's a good point. Why would a vampire need glasses? Wouldn't his eyes heal or correct themselves? Although, no.
Listen, I feel like we've had so many vampire, like the inconsistencies.
Yeah.
And there was the vampire in Buffy season 2.
I was just thinking of him, the nerd vampire.
Yeah. The nerdy, but still Victorian dressing vampire.
I like the idea that Renner's just like these look like murderer glasses. I don't need them, but I have to look at my murder wall with my murder glasses.
He's like, oh my God, this is such a look. Let's get the glasses too. So then we get Angel kind of explains to them what happened. And he's like, I got to tell Kate. And Wesley very correctly points out, like, you can't just, I love what he's like, you can't walk in there saying, every intimate detail of these murders and then blame a 200-year-old Puritan. Which is true. I also love was like, what the fuck did he say when he's like, you'd be locked up faster than Lady Hamilton's virtue, and then turns to Cordelia and apologizes, and she's like, I don't know what that means. Because same. But Ian, did you do this already? Because I feel like you're the brains when it comes, you're the watcher when it comes to this shit. What? I have what that means, because I'm assuming, did anyone else know what that meant? Because I didn't.
I think I looked it up when I wrote about this video for the channel, but I can't remember. I can't remember what it was this time. And the thing I love about that joke is that because of Cordy's disdain with which she responds to him, it still works really well not knowing the reference. It probably works well knowing the reference and to seeing how nerdy he is, but it works really well not knowing the reference. It's a great line.
Yes, I think you're right, because it's in her delivery of like, she's annoyed at the fact that she's like, I don't fucking know what that is. Like, who cares? But pop quiz, Jamie or Zach, did either of you know what the fuck that reference was?
No. We can come up with one right here, right
so wait,
now.
I have it. Lady, this is so weird. And I'm wondering what writer was like, oh, that reference, because I don't know what any of this shit is. Lady Hamilton, wife of Sir William Hamilton, was born Emma Hart, a woman of great beauty and charm who rose from humble origins to international fame. Emma attracted the attention of Lord Horatio Nelson, with whom she had a notorious romantic liaison with until his death at the Battle of Trafalgar. Although she inherited money from both Hamilton and Nelson, her extravagance led her into debt and she died in poverty. Like,
yeah, I would love to, I love, at this point, I love knowing how the sausage is made. And I would love to know, if you're writing an episode with, I heard an interview with Jane Espenson, or it was one of the commentaries where she was talking about how she had to look up facts about this character because this character had a particular kind of job and you want it to sound authentic, so you look it up for the sake of authenticity. But that is such a deep cut,
right?
Because there's layers to that joke, which is that it needs to be obscure in an English sort of way, but so obscure that it makes Wesley look ridiculous. I love it. I love the layers to that one. That's great.
I feel like I should be laughing to it with my pinky up while
So then we get the precinct. We get the little Kate hitting on Angel, and she's like, not that the brooding doesn't work for you, because it does work for you. And this is like, I feel like this episode has the most heavy implications / flirtations between them, but then by the end it's gone. He has to talk to her in private, and he puts up a drawing that looks like Nicole Kidman in The Hours. And is like, this is him. Like, even the hair looks like the way she had her hair in that movie. And normally they're pretty good with their, like, when he would draw Buffy, quote unquote, like, it would look like Sarah Michelle Gellar. I don't think that looks like Jeremy Renner at all. But so she, like, asks him if he's protecting a source, which he could have said yes. And he just, like, is, like, shady and doesn't answer. And it's like, just lie, say yes. Like, we need to wrap this up, dude. He leaves to go, like, meet Wesley in the car, and they're gonna monitor through the police radio. And then we cut to a kid that is doing what, Jamie?
What is he doing?
A teen.
Walking? I don't remember. I watched this yesterday, and I'm like, this is a trick question.
Just asked, what do teens do? He's watching TV.
Trying to get alcohol. The kid's trying to get alcohol. Yes. I was like,
I completely forgot that scene too. Good pickup there because I forgot it.
Yeah, he's trying to get people to buy him beer.
And he encounters Jeremy. That was really good, Jay.
That's a game show right there.
It really was. Keeping you on your toes. So he encounters Jeremy Renner, and he says that he'll buy him alcohol, but like takes him down an alley to he says like, what, another alcohol liquor store or whatever?
What was the line that got him to go with him, right?
Right? Because like
I got
the liquor store was right there.
Over here, you want to see a puppy,
You want to see a puppy? I mean, that might get us, Zach.
Yeah, I might. Sarah Michelle Gellar, you want to meet her? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she's down here in this murder alley, and I won't murder you, I promise. So he brings him down this alley. We see that like Kate and no. They do have two fights. I was like, wait, we can't be at the end already, but they have two different.
I'm glad that you just did that, because every single time I've watched this episode, which is probably 15 times, every time that showdown happens, I'm like, okay, the episode's over. Nice stuff. And then it's like, wait, there's like 10, 15 minutes left. It's a weirdly paced moment.
It really is, right? Because it feels like that's the final.
Yeah. Because
Kate goes in and then Angel goes in. They save the kid. He only did one part of the cross on the kid's face. Kate goes in, Angel goes in. This is when she like learns about vampires, and this is where she starts to annoy me even more, because I really hate the like, well, you've proven that I can trust you, but now I'm going to be mad at you because you're a vampire. And it's like, I don't know. She shoots Jeremy Renner, he gets back up, he attacks her, Angel pops in. And I mean, it said this in the Angel article. It is weird, right? If like we're introducing they can dream about each other, he like doesn't know that Angel has a soul. It's like
they don't know anything about each other. Okay, right. So this murder thing, right? I'm big into the true crime. So this murderer is murdering people who are representing members of his family, correct? And he's doing it over and over and over again for how many years? And we've never picked up on this,
right? It always bothers me because, like, it feels like Angel I don't know. It's like,
Did Angel
really-
just forget he had a son named Jeremy Renner? I mean, I understand if so, but
I mean, he's lived a long time. You know,
true.
he's got a lot of bastard children out there, is what I'm guessing.
He's like, I don't know. I got a bunch of kids everywhere. Jeremy Renner finds out that Angel is a good vampire. They have their fight. Angel tells Kate to get out of there, but he gets thrown into Kate, and then Renner escapes.
We were talking about things that appear and disappear. So there's a scene in Buffy, the first season, where Principal Flutie stops her from leaving the property, and he closes the gate, and you get a low angle shot of Buffy's feet leaving the ground on one side of the gate,
Yes.
and then coming down on the other. And so Buffy has super jumping. Buffy can super jump, and it never makes an appearance again at any point in the show. Renner jumps to the third floor of the building through a window. And then I like the kind of kineticism of the Angel and Renner fight in that scene, but they are flying into the ceiling and up walls and all of that. And you would think that, Angel punching Spike, there would be some of that. I mean, I realized 22 episodes a season, that is the answer to every one of the consistency questions.
It really is.
We're here in some ways to talk about what could have been.
Because we do get a little bit of that in the Angel Spike fight in season 5.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's Mountain Dew.
Right. But never any other fight that they have.
Yeah, that fight is one of the most memorable in the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he leaves, and the weird thing that is another Kate thing that annoys me is he's left. The police are there. We're post fight. Everyone's, and then she pulls a gun on Angel.
I know, he's just standing there, and he makes a step forward, and she's like, ah.
Yeah.
And it's come on, man, how long were we waiting here? Because there was a clear time jump here, at least 20 minutes or so,
Yeah. So I'm we're just pulling that gun on him now? What?
I do love the melodrama of him grabbing her cross. It's so dramatic. There are things in the dark that you don't want to talk about. And the other thing that I like is it's a nice little parallel to the first time he and Buffy kiss, where her cross burns him on the chest. It's a nice little echo of that beat that I appreciate.
Well, I love those moments in both shows, because when Spike lays on the cross too, right? I like the vampires toying with the cross, or using the cross for whatever reason they do, but they go back to that a lot through both shows, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Marsters elevates that monologue to kind of Shakespearean levels of his performance in that is so seamless and perfect and makes me cry every single time. Angel has so many cheesy 80s action lines that I love. I'm not getting down on it. I love it. I'm going to find him, and then I'm going to share my feelings, and him grabbing the cross has that sort of that fun. It's more Lost Boys than Anne Rice, I guess, would be the distinction I'd try and make.
Yeah, me too. So they disperse. So Kate is refusing to believe. Angel's you know what I am, blah, blah, blah. And then we see her later at the precinct getting all the I'm not quite sure if it's did she just say anyone who's I'm not sure what files it is that she's getting, right? Because the officer's oh, do you think the killer's a history buff? And she's something like that.
I don't know. She pulls everything.
Oh, that's when she's beginning her research on Angel rather than... in the next scene, when Angel comes and knocks on her door, he says, "You've been doing your homework." So those, she's reading about the old murders, but also is researching Angel.
Well, that's what I mean, though. But how does she word that when asking an officer for files? What files is she asking for? You know what I mean? It's there's not a file on Angelus.
Renner called him Angelus, so she's Google search the name Angelus. but as we've learned from Buffy, I feel Angelus information is only in those old ass textbooks.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, Tim wrote for the X-Files before this, so bring me the X-Files.
Yeah, and as someone who loved The X-Files but has trouble rewatching it, they did do a lot of that, right? Where it's just like, well, let's look into it. And then they find research on whatever the thing they need to find research is. So sure. Then we cut to one of the best scenes. Cordelia is doing her shtick that we saw her doing earlier to the empty chair, but then we see that it is Jeremy Renner. Zach, what do you think of the scene? I feel like you probably
love
liked
it.
The way I did.
I love that she sometimes just takes an extra second to be like, well, shit, I just gave you my information and my bells were already going off, right? It's very much that first episode where she's like, talking to him, and then she's like, and you're a vampire, what more do you say about Charisma Carpenter? We love her.
The delivery of like, get me a steak, and what did she say? It's 9 in the morning.
And she's like, oh, right.
What else did she say? She said, let me fucking find it. I have to find it. We don't judge, but we will charge.
Yeah. She's so good. And like the delivery, like you said, Zach, it really is, her delivery is very much like the invite me to their house with no windows and hey, you're a vampire. I love that she's like, yeah, that's Tate, blah, 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 blah. And you are pumping me for information. You're him. The way she like bleeds those statements together, even though they're separate, but like, it's like one full sentence. I love it.
That's because she's never really on she's always on a stream of consciousness thought, right?
Yeah.
A thought bubble, just like a single thought bubble that just keeps going and going and going. And then she realizes something at the end,
It's such a fine line. And sometimes it's a miss for me. The whole bit in oh God, I invited him into my car. That means he can get into my car anytime he wants. Didn't work for me because there's a fine line between the way Cordy thinks, which is completely present and in the moment, and stupid. She's not stupid. She's just incredibly present. Like when Buffy read her head and her thought was, I don't see what this has to do with me. And then she says, I don't see what this has to do with me. She's incredibly smart. She's a high tester, which is something they include in those seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a fine line, but I think it's nailed in this one.
Yeah. And the thing I also love is that he threatens her and he's like, you'll never make it to the exit. And she knows that. So she's opening the blinds to the window and like, that's smart, right?
Yes, exactly.
Angel walks in. And I the thing I also love about this is that she could have easily been the damsel in this scene, but it's Wesley that is the damsel in this scene.
Yeah.
Like that.
And then the sunlight. I know that we say this all the time, right? The sunlight never makes sense. Vampire rules never make sense. But they could live a full life during the day just like this, right? If they just have to be out of direct sunlight, that is perfectly doable if we're seeing this.
They're like orchids. Direct sunlight burns, but bounce sunlight is completely okay.
Goodness. But yeah,
and Zach, I feel like we live those lives with recording all the time.
Pretty much. I'm out of direct sunlight right now, but I'm still happy.
He had that jacket, so he must have done the spike maneuver where he's putting it over his head and running around.
At the end, you see him run out, but somebody, either Wesley or Cordelia, could have run after him and just pulled the jacket off of him real quick,
Right, just pull it down. Like, aha, gotcha.
That'd be really funny, Jeff.
Oh, then we get that weird montage of Kate doing research, Jeremy Renner doing whatever.
Yeah, that again to me is the episode trying to do it's noir mashup stuff.
Yeah,
that bit is incredibly 50s detective beating the street while the close-ups on her face while she's doing research, all of that. And if you like the mashup, I think it's fun. Otherwise, it's a little silly.
Yeah, I agree. And then we get Angel. He goes to see Kate, and he wants to, I guess, discuss what's going on. This, for me, sucks. I hate that Kate is I'm not inviting you in. Thanks for the offer, but I don't need your help. And it's dickhead, you clearly did need his help. You've needed his help all season.
But I don't agree with you. So I get the she does need his help, and this would be the case that she does need his help. And she doesn't know vampires. He knows vampires, right? So I get you there. But her not inviting him in, I think tracks particularly well because why would she? She just finds out he's this thing. She doesn't really know about these things all that much. She's just learning about these things. Everybody knows, you don't invite a vampire in. Why would she do that? you know?
I agree. Because it's like she's learning a little bit about his past, and he's killed a lot of people. You know, even if he has helped her, I would be a little iffy too, as a woman. Like, maybe don't come into my home in this moment in time.
Fair.
I think it's tough to rewatch the show with the same eyes as you had when you first went through it, and it's similar to the Wesley thing. You know,
Yeah.
I remember what my reaction was to Wesley the first time through, but now I watched Wesley and I'm watching this. I mean, no spoilers, but I'm watching this Shakespearean arc that I know he's going to go through, and it gives me much greater appreciation for him early on. And I think Kate has the opposite problem, where her writing kind of falls apart at the tail end of her time on the show. And so retroactively, when you go, I feel exhaustion watching her in these early episodes because I know where this is going.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm just like, oh, the back and forth. I hate this. But so then we see he kind of like leaves. We see the teams doing their research. I do think it's cute, the Wesley bit, even though he should have known that when they like break into Jeremy Renner's apartment and he's like, Angel, come in. And he's like, you don't need to invite me in. It's a demon apartment. They find that he's been researching schools, which is weird, right? Because it's like a very weird, like, the show does this a couple times, especially in season 1, where they like show you a diversion that does not work.
It doesn't play into the story at all, because the next time we see them, they're driving into the precinct, right? So like, why was that there? I guess.
Right. Yeah, that's what because like I get that he put it there as a diversion, but it didn't do anything. So like,
I guess it was so that Angel could say, haha, you I knew you wouldn't be going to a school bus full of children because that's too original. Like, look how good of a detective Angel is.
Fair. And then we do get, and I do think this scene is actually kind of cool, where like Kate's briefing everyone. She's like, we're going to stake out Angel because he's probably the next victim. She shows them the Nicole Kidman from the Hours portrait, and then he's there. And and maybe this is because like it's the horror in me, but like I kind of wish it was like more like bloody. Like I wish he had like,
oh yeah,
right. Like I think it would have been cool.
Like the lawyers in the wine cellar sequence.
Yes,
yes. Yeah, when they actually cut to Lindsay crawling out from a pile of dead lawyers, and that's the first time the show really goes there. And has the willingness to kind of show the disgusting, violent nature of the monsters is horror and shocking and fun,
right?
And a little bit of that here would have moved it more into the macabre instead of just again sort of like 80s, 90s action movie horror.
That really is what that becomes, right? Because it's like he's just kind of punching them and throwing them into the wall, but like, they're all probably fine. Yeah, I kept thinking like, ooh, this like, because I actually did like, we don't sometimes in the Buffyverse they do this, but not all, where like the vampire can move faster, like not just like Angel being able to disarm Wesley fast, but like super powered fast, right? And like I don't know, I thought that was cool, and I was like, I kept thinking like, oh, Kate screaming would have made more sense if it was like, oh, he's murdering her coworkers or like these people below her. Like that would have also upped the stakes, right? Because like realistically, he's only killed 3 people, and for an Angel episode, that's not a lot. But I do like seeing that, and I like that Kate at least took it seriously, that she did have a stake in her purse, but she doesn't get to it in time. Then Angel and Wesley are like at the precinct. They didn't take the bait for the school. They realize that Penn's taken Kate to a sewer hideout, I guess, and then Angel's just there. I don't know.
It's moving weird, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. And like, did nobody see him walk out of the precinct with her? And there's just questions, but none of them matter.
Yeah. I do like that Kate at least had holy water in her pocket, and she has that to like throw on him. I appreciate when they like Cordelia, who like he's there and she knows she can't fight him, so she's gonna open up the blinds because sunlight. I like when they do shit like that, where it's like a human who can't really go toe to toe with this monster still has like their defense stuff. Angel and Penn do weird porny dad son role play where he's like, I just. Tells him he's grounded.
It keeps going too. It's just
Right.
There's that 80s action cheese.
Right.
I am convinced that Angel has slept with everyone he's ever sired.
Yes.
And, like all of season 5 is just like me and Spike have definitely had sex before. Like, and so I don't know. That's my headcanon.
I just wish they would say it because it doesn't even make it like any sort of way because they're vampires. Like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You know, they've transcended us and our ideas of sexuality. So just say it. I wish both shows had just like fully gone there. And it's like,
I can't remember the context that it came up with. I think I heard that it was a question Whedon was asked at a con someplace, which was, did Spike and Angel ever bang? And his response was, those four were gallivanting around Europe for 100 years together. Of course they did.
Yes.
But again,
back then,
speaking at a con versus actually showing it on television. But there's also an issue of like, and I'm not one to speak to this, but I would worry about over queer coding the bad guys and the monsters in the show, and sort of what that commentary, which Buffy has a lot of queer coding as it is, and sort of how that works as commentary might have been something they were shying away from. Probably not, but I would prefer more Willow and Tara, or Lorne and what's the demon's name from Once More with Feeling? Sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know though, because I think the vampires make sense. It makes sense for all of them to be queer because it's just like we've lived so long that gay, bi, what even is all of that, right? Like we get horny and we go for it. We just killed somebody. I'm feeling a little bit in the mood, like an aphrodisiac. We just go for it. It just makes sense with the vampires. I think.
One of my tattoos is Brad Pitt and Antonio Banderas, their near kiss in Interview with the Vampire.
Yes,
and because it's like, that's what the vampires are doing. Like, how are you going to limit yourself when you're living forever? Come on.
Yes.
I can remember being so happy when I read Interview with a Vampire, and they actually are explicitly boyfriend.
And it's good.
That's like one of my critiques of that book is I wanted that to be more of the book than just like the last 100 or 50 pages. Like I was like, no, give me more of this shit. I like this gay shit.
I wonder how much we're gonna get of that in the new show that's coming out.
Oh, I think they're going to go all in in the new show.
You think so? Oh,
I hope so. Otherwise, what's the point?
Sizzling.
You are right, Jamie. What is the point?
Yeah.
I think you guys point out the flaw in my thinking, which is not to limit representation in any way, but to just provide more and equal on all sides. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're wrong either, though. I wasn't trying to do that because you're absolutely right that like. If every monster is just queer coded, right, then that's a clear and obvious like signal for something. But I'm just speaking specifically about the vampires. Yeah,
Zach and I just want to see the vampires fuck.
Just let Spike and Angel fuck and let us see it. Okay, they neither of them can lose their souls.
So I do like the way she defeats Penn. I do. I give Kate that. I like that she gets this, like, this is one of like my I never remember where it is, but like I remember this Kate scene of like her with the giant piece of wood and shoving it through Angel to hit the vampire. Like I don't remember even that it's the Jeremy Renner vampire.
It is petty.
Listen, I do like that he's like, you missed. And she's like, I didn't. Like, she's like, no, I wanted to stab you, but I didn't want to kill you, but I did want to kill that guy.
It's so blunt. They do a either give her a sharper implement or don't do a close up on the wood itself. But they show a close up of it, and she's shoving that thing through 1.5 burly vampires.
And that thing was big. So the direction it went through the spine.
Yeah.
There's still mechanics here, right? If you don't have no bones, you still fall apart.
I
So
mean, I love. There's a fun metaphor they're playing with there. But that whole thing. I'm just like, there's no way. There's no way.
Well, also, there's no way she's aiming with that thing, right? Like,
Right.
she's staking. Both of them are getting dusted. Like, there's no way she could be like, oh, if I do it this angle, because when she stabs it, it goes straight. But like then when we see it, it's like pointed, so it like would hit his heart and not Angel's. But like,
and that's got to be some Slayer strength to like really drive that big ass piece of wood through.
Yeah, Buffy could do it,
right?
Right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But whatever. We don't really get a wrap up with him and Kate, right? She just says like she didn't miss, and then it's like them huffing and puffing. Then we cut to a very good scene of Cordelia and Angel on the roof. I do like this scene. It's wild that this was written for Doyle and Angel first, because for me, this scene, that was what I read. That like I didn't realize that they had written episodes for Doyle before they had like, I guess, fired him. And this feels very parallel-y to her speech in You're Welcome, doesn't it?
Ooh, I like that thought.
Yeah. First of all, I so prefer this to the Doyle bits. I like the Doyle bits, but I get so tired of kind of brotastic converse, like when whatever the piece of improv is that they left in where David Boreanaz says, I was going to give him in the dark, I was going to give them anything, you, me, your mom.
Yeah, the fucking your mom joke, like.
Yeah, it's so bro-y. And then this bit at the end, there's like genuine vulnerability and intimacy between the two of them. Yeah. The music is wonderful. It's beautifully lit. It's a very memorable sequence that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, whatever, I love Cordelia, so I'm going to talk about Cordelia again. The thing I love is that we really do get like, she comes in kind of like, light, but she also like lights a little bit of a fire under his ass and gives him the thing they do really well is developing their friendship in this season, which I love. Because they're one of my favorite Buffyverse couples. I mean, not that they become the couple, but whatever, you know what I mean? And they do a good job of investing in their friendship here before it's ever romantic or like flirty, right? Like she's not jealous when she's like, oh yeah, Angel likes Kate, but he doesn't know it. Like she's not saying that because she's jealous. She's just saying that because it's true. And I really, really love an investment in a friendship first that can build. And I think this is like a really good moment for them where like we see that even though she's quote unquote the like people like would pigeonhole her as the ditz, like she's not. She's a good friend to him. And he also, even though he's our like quote unquote hero, he still needs like a pep talk, right? He still gets like mopey and angsty, and
Angel being mopey and brooding. What?
But you know what I mean? Like usually Buffy didn't really give him a pep talk when he was like that. That was just like she was into it when he was like that.
They punched each other, They're and then they cried, and then they tried to kill each other, and then they were happy again. It's not the vibes. I love the vibes in this scene. Like this, the way it's shot is so good. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head. Does it? It couldn't have been like green screen, right? Like that's got to be location.
I think they're in front of a backdrop. It's maybe. A really good backdrop, but it's a backdrop.
Just ruined the illusion for me. It still looks great. And I think Cordy looks beautiful like that. It's a poncho, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that poncho she's wearing looks great. And there's like this layer of like knowing that scene was written for Doyle. There's this layer of like kind of somberness to that, and seeing them sitting there without Doyle that, I don't know, just hit me just because I'm like fresh off of that episode. I don't know. It just really worked for me. This would be, when you ask what your favorite scene is, this is going to be it.
Spoiler alert.
This is making me realize, because like I was watching this last night and I was thinking about how much I love Cordelia and Angel and how I do ship them and I love them. And I remember this just reminded me that I was briefly freelancing for a website that does lists, and I only wrote 3 articles for them, and because one of my lists was the best and worst Buffyverse couples, and I called Cordelia and Angel a best, and the website made me change it to a worst, even though that's
Really?
yeah.
Give us more information on that. I want to know what the email said.
No, they just changed it, and let me tell you, it's a site that you can figure it out because it's a site that does a lot of shitty things. But I was like, nope. If that's it, I'm not doing writing for you again because that's insane. That's not how I feel, and that's not how a lot of people feel. I mean, you can't make me do that. But if you find that article somewhere in the existence, it looks like I call them one of the worst couples, and I don't. That is not how I feel.
They didn't watch the show. They said, "Who's Cornelia?"
Jamie, I'm so mad for you.
Right? I know. I was so pissed off.
You know, Jamie, I feel like we could like commiserate because writing for some of those sites that would pay like $30 an article was like fucking miserable. Anytime someone comes for those sites, I'm like, please don't come for the writers because they are getting paid pennies and like it's the sites that are bad. It's not the writers. I remember I wrote an article about, it was something with like, something about horror. I don't remember what it was, but it was for a site like that. And they're like, oh, you can't say that Barb could have been queer and that she feels queer coded because that's homophobic. And I was like, what? No, it's not. Like, I'm gay and I'm saying I'm allowed to say that. And they insisted it was homophobic and took it out. And I was fucking furious.
That's so weird.
Right. And that's like clearly a straight guy being like, oh, wait, that could be. And like not actually knowing what he's saying.
They're worried about their own tails.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, now that we are at the end, favorite scene, Jamie?
I think it's definitely when Renner comes to the office and then Cordelia is realizes it, because then we get like you calling Wesley the damsel in distress is like right on the money, and I love that. It's funny, it's intense, and we get Renner with everybody. And I love seeing Renner with all my angel people because it's weird. So it's definitely that scene.
Is my question is, so Angel's Irish accent eventually, such as it is, eventually falls away.
Yes.
Is Renner still doing the English accent in those scenes, or is he? Do you know what I mean? Is he doing an accent in that scene? I can't tell.
I don't think so. I think he's trying to do like serial killer talk.
He's trying to do vampire.
I think it's specifically a bold reinterpreter of the form. He kind of like, there's when American actors do Shakespeare, there's a hybrid style. If an American actor can't do an English accent, there's a hybrid. The verse is still written for the English accent, so you have to sort of find a middle ground where it's this hybrid way of speaking that is not an English accent, but still enunciates the words in the way that they were originally intended. And he sounds like he's doing some weird version of that in that scene. It's so strange.
We will never know because he's never going to be on it again. He's gone. Yeah. He's done.
Zachary, your favorite scene?
On the balcony.
Yeah. Ian?
I like the balcony sequence at the end probably the most. Do you mind if I go on a little bit of a tangent for a minute?
Go ahead.
There's two things that struck me this time. I mentioned the through lines that Tim Minear episodes have. This episode, I think, has a much stronger connection to a future Tim episode that I hadn't thought about until we were talking, which is The Prodigal. The Prodigal is about Angel's daddy issues and Angel wanting to live up to his father, and Angel creating his own killer to sort of be the best. The first thing Angel does as a vampire is slaughter his whole town because he wants to show, he's constantly needing to prove himself and be the best. Right. And he creates Jeremy Renner's vampire in that same way in this one, where Jeremy Renner is being he creates the same relationship with Jeremy Renner that he had with his own father, which I think is brilliant and so cool in a weird little way. it's just realizing how performative Jeremy Renner is being and how important Angel's opinion of him is. That you realize he duplicated the relationship with Jeremy Renner that he had with his own father, which I think is really cool. But my original reading of this episode was, and I'm going to beat this drum a lot for the first season because I think it's heavy in the first season and then sort of less so as they go on. But there's an alcoholic metaphor with Angel that's pretty heavy, and holy cow, does that lay on top of this one really beautifully? Where everyone's journey to sobriety is a little bit different, but I really identify with Angel keeps talking about, but I enjoyed it. And I loved drinking. I loved, I'm not speaking for anyone else. It was an important step in the journey for me to understand that I didn't hate alcohol. I didn't hate it. I loved it. And I still had to make another choice. I had to choose and do something, go a different way with my life to sort of not be run by that. So I love that aspect to his vampire sobriety in this one. And another thing that happens when you get sober is you realize that you've surrounded yourself with people who are going to trap you in the life that you've been living up to that point. There are people who will accept the change that you're trying to make and come with you or allow you to live that life. And there are others who are as stuck as you are and will try and trap you in it. And that's Jeremy Renner's part of the metaphor in this one is Jeremy Renner is still the alcoholic. He's still the drinker. He's still the one, and he doesn't understand what has happened with Angel, and tries to bring Angel back into his vampire alcoholism, which I think is brilliant. And running with that metaphor, Cordy then at the end of the episode is Angel's sponsor. She's Angel.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that too.
She's Angel out there giving him tough love, telling him it's not you, listening to him sort of open up about, but I enjoyed it, and all of that. And then hit the call to be better, to focus on the next day, to focus on what you can control in your sobriety, which is today and the next couple of hours,
Ian, you're going to make me cry. I love you.
That was really good. And it's very much like the Willow and Amy of it all, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to that, where I don't think Willow really would have had a sponsor in the way that Cordelia is the sponsor for Angel, if you will.
And I think that's another way that I think the Doyle-Cordy swap in this one works a lot better, is because it has that intimacy that is really good. So I love this episode. You have to, I never really love camp, but you have to let it slide and sort of enjoy the rest of what's there. So anyway, that's the end of my tangent. Thank you.
That was good though.
That's really nice.
That was real good.
That was. But wait, what is your favorite scene?
I wrote down two, and they are the two that have been mentioned.
Okay.
Cordy's sussing out that Renner is a vampire. The one line, I always think of Spike in the basement when he says, "Well, who are you going to call?" God, that line's never going to be usable again, is it? She says, "And you're totally pumping me for information," and I instantly hear Buffy in my head saying, "What else would I pump you for?"
Right. So my favorite scene is, I'm also aggressively agreeing. I literally wrote down two, and it's same two that everyone has already stated. Favorite outfit, Jamie?
Oh boy, is it this where Wesley has that little white suit where it looks like he's going to church or like celebrate? He's like, it's like Easter Sunday, and Wesley's looking his best. Like, I don't understand that outfit at all. It's so jarring to me that like I have no choice but to love it.
I love that, because I was like, you like that outfit? I don't. You don't like it either, but it's your favorite. Okay,
no,
I get it.
I do. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's me. Like, the worse something is like that, the more I'm going to love it, because it's just
the linen suit makes him look like a lawyer who's escaped from a John Grisham novel in the Florida Everglades.
Yes, I'm from Florida, and that is very much like Florida. Like we're businessing it up,
Yeah.
Zachary.
I'm gonna go with Jeremy Renner's Red and Black at the middle of the episode when he goes to visit Cordy. I think that's just with the chin strap and everything. It's just weird. It's ugly, but it's memorable.
Yes, that's it. Ugly but memorable.
Ian?
Well, I'm always going to have a problem with this question because my default answer is going to be whatever Charisma Carpenter is wearing.
Listen, that's still always my default, so.
So I try and go out of my way to pick something else. And in this one, it's going to be the John Grisham Everglades suit. But the real answer is the Cordy and the leather drawstring thing she's wearing with the jade necklace.
See,
ridiculous.
And mine is, I think Cordelia looks great. They put her in this like deep green turtleneck, and then she has like a red skirt that has like a floral pattern on it.
Yeah.
Now, what grade do we give this episode, Ian?
A- if you're grading on a curve for season 1, but probably a B+.
All right. Jamie?
Yeah, I agree. B+. The plus is just for Renner existing. That's where the plus comes from.
Zach?
I'm gonna do straight B. I feel like a lot of these episodes so far have just been B's. Like it's okay, but I'm not. I'm not falling in love with the show like I feel like I should be for you, Ian.
I have no doubt that you will eventually. This season is very rough. I feel like this is the most I've enjoyed it, is going through it for the podcast, and I've gone through it a couple times.
If I can advocate, remember Buffy season 1.
I love Buffy.
Buffy season 1 was rough. This the way I would describe Angel season 1 is dry.
Yeah.
And I know I like Angel because I've seen episodes that I like of Angel, right? Like I didn't drop into it in season 1, so I know we're going to get there somewhere. This is a lot of like really dull colors and dull, like it just feels a little dull right now.
The example I will use, which Jamie, you will either appreciate or want to punch me for, is it's like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1. I
will fight you on that one because I firmly think that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1 is legitimately very good, and I don't understand why people think that. But that's fine.
You really thought you had somebody to relate to here. You thought you had a friend.
Jamie and I always talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're like the only two people that like don't shut up about that fucking show.
It's my third favorite show after Buffy and Angel. I've said it before and I'll say it again.
So I'm going to give it the lowest grade. I give it, and I still sit here, C+/B-. It's like...
You're even worse with your grades than I am, Ian. Like every episode I've been on with you has been a bad grade.
Thank you all for joining me. Jamie, thank you for being our first guest for Angel College.
Thank you so much. Like last time I did the show, I was like, please let me do Renner. And then you let me do Renner, and I'm honored and grateful. And it was great to meet Ian and Zach today. Thank you.
Honestly, when I asked you, I was worried you were going to be like, Ian, I was joking. I don't actually like that episode.
No. Bring me on for any episode and I'll be thrilled.
And if you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you get your podcasts. Please subscribe to us and give us a good rating. It would be much appreciated. And you can support us on Patreon. We are finishing up Harley Quinn Season 2. We'll be getting to Harley Quinn Season 3. And we're still going through What If, slowly but surely. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I am at IanXCarlos. Jamie, where can everyone find you?
Oh, I'm on Twitter and Letterboxd at Jamie Cinematics.
And Ian, where can everyone find you?
Twitter at Ian Nittram, which is my first name and last name Martin spelled backwards, and youtube.com/Passion of the Nerd.
And Zachary, where can everyone find you?
Well, I do a very nice, humble horror podcast with my buddy Ian Carlos Crawford here. You can search us at My Bloody Judy. We're currently doing a reaction series to Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. It is A+, that show. And then I do a morning and a late show with my husband called Coffee and Tequila, if you want to look that up as well.
Zach and I, it's just us aggressively agreeing about how good the new Pretty Little Liars is. And thank you to Vanessa Mackey. She put both My Bloody Judy and Slayerfest 98 and a list of the best queer horror podcasts for the Mary Sue. So thank you for that. And thank you all. We will see you next time. Bye.